Hello and welcome back to Beauty Bee, where today we are redoing an old video. This is one of the first videos I ever posted on my channel. It was called Products So Nice I've Hit Pan Twice, and it was completely just what it said on the tin. It was about products that I had used up multiple of, or at least hit pan on multiple of. I think there was at least one, maybe two or three things in there that I had just hit pan on the second one. And in the year and 3 months or so since then, I have finished those off, and I think there are a couple of other products to add to the list. Some probably should have been on the list that time around, but just didn't make it for some reason, and some that have been added. So without a whole lot more fuss, let's just get into it. I'm going to keep this to makeup. I believe that there were a few body care, skincare things that worked their way into the previous video, and if you're interested, I would be happy to film a part 2. I have a list, so I figured this video was going to be plenty long without that. So I think we're going to start with eyes. There are a couple of products that I feel like most makeup lovers have finished multiple of. I feel like everyone has a go-to mascara. For me, for years, it was the CoverGirl 3-in-1 Professional in Very Black, and I still think that's an okay mascara. I just finished my last tube of it maybe a month ago, 6 weeks maybe at this point, and it was just not impressing me this time around, and I think that I'm probably going to try something else next time. I've also finished multiple tubes of CoverGirl Supersizer, which I still do like that one, or at least I did the last time I tried it. I think that the next time that I purchase a drugstore mascara, it will likely be that one, though I suspect that will be quite a while because I have some Ipsy add-ons and gift with purchases to work through before I would need to buy anything from the drugstore. I've also used up a couple of the Almay Get Up and Grow, and I don't think they make that anymore, or if they do, I think that they have changed the formula since I used it. This was years and years ago. This was probably 8 years ago when I used these up. I think I bought like 3 or 4 back to back, and then I just couldn't find it for a while, so I switched to CoverGirl. And oh, the other product that I think most beauty lovers have panned multiple of is some kind of brow pencil. In my case, the one that I've just gone back to time and time again is the e.l.f. Instant Lift. I get mine in the shade Blonde, and it's a pretty standard brow pencil. This is their thicker one. e.l.f. also has a thinner one, which I have, well, actually I have 2 of right now. I think that I'm going to go back to this one. This one is $2. It gets the job done. I think it's a good color match for my brows. I'm not actually wearing it today. I actually don't have anything in my brows today, I'm realizing, but I do like this a lot, and I think that it's a really fantastic product, especially for the price tag. You can quite often get these for 50% off or buy 2 get 1 free, and really I think that $2 for a brow pencil is already a fantastic deal when you can layer 3 off 15 at Ulta or buy 2 get 1 free on top of that, or both. It's hard to beat that. I do actually have a couple of other products in the eye category. The first is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Eye Primer. This is my 3rd tube, and I think you can tell I'm about halfway done with this. I think that this is just solid. I wouldn't describe it as incredible. The problem that I tend to have with my eyeshadow is that it fades and it creases. I have somewhat oily eyelids, I think. I think that my skin as a whole has gotten a bit more dry over the past several years. I used to be very, very oily and very, very acne prone. And now my skin is pretty normal and I don't deal with a whole lot of acne. I get the occasional spot, but nothing severe. And for me, this has always just done the job. It's thin enough that it doesn't feel weird or sticky going on the eye. It keeps my eyeshadow from creasing. I do still notice some fading throughout the day, but I don't mind fading. There is a tiny bit of a tint to this, but I don't really notice it. Once I've applied primer, it definitely doesn't cancel out any of the veining on my eyes to any great degree, but it is sort of a beige color to start with. And I suspect that when I finish this one up, I will repurchase another. I feel largely the same about this product as I do about the e.l.f. one. I don't think these are anything super special. I don't think they're incredible products, but they are so inexpensive and they do the job well enough that I don't feel any great desire to go out and try new things. And really, eye primer and eyebrow pencils aren't exactly products I find super exciting. They're not the kind of thing that I really want to be switching up all the time. Now finally, like 5 minutes into the video, we get into some more interesting products, starting with ColourPop. I have had, I think, 5 of these Super Shock shadows over the years. Currently, I only have one. I have mine in the shade Ladybird, and it's one of their Ultra Glitter formulas. I have panned 2 of these completely over the years. Hopefully I am able to transition seamlessly back into this video, but I had to go check out my window because I saw a spider on there and I needed to make sure that it was outside and not inside, and thank goodness it is. I can't with spiders. Anyway, I have this Ultra Glitter Ladybird Super Shock. I have panned 2 of these completely in the past. I don't think that either of the shades that I had is still available. I was just going through the ColourPop site a few days ago and none of them looked super familiar. I had a more golden one that I finished, a copper one, and both of those were in the satin formula, and I finished them. I used them 100% up. I also had a copper one, and I want to say like a really glittery gold that I had hit pan on, and then I think they just didn't make the move with me when I went to grad school or something, because I'd panned my first 2 when I was in college. And anyway, I have pan on this one as well, though I think you can tell I still have some of the imprint around the edges, so it's not like I've used a ton of this. This is just such a glittery shade that I find it not all that easy to wear on an everyday basis. And I also think I'm a little bit more light-handed with my makeup than I was when I was, let's see, 20 years old, maybe 21, and panned my first 2 of these. When I wanted gold on my eyelid, I went in, and I probably overused the product, which is probably why it went so quickly. I cannot spend this much time talking about all the other products or we will be here all day. So let's transition to lips, which is actually the biggest category by far. The first lipstick that I ever purchased for myself was a CoverGirl lipstick. I believe it was in the shade Heavenly, and I wrote this down. It was the Lip Perfection line. These were in the square tubes. I believe that they still have a square tube, but it is a revamped lipstick formula. Actually, I think they've revamped a couple times since I purchased this tube. I used up at least 1 of Heavenly, and I think I might have actually used 2 of the same shade. I also definitely had one called Fairy Tale, which was a really bright pink that I also used up, which I'm kind of glad I don't have any pictures of myself wearing that, because I know how questionable my makeup application was around that. And I refuse to believe that that hot pink actually looked very good considering how I did the rest of my makeup. And then I know that I also panned a raspberry shade. Couldn't tell you the name of that one though. escapes me entirely. I've never thought of myself as a big gloss person, but there are actually two different types of gloss that I've panned multiple of. The first are the e.l.f. Squeezy Tube lip glosses. Now, I think that these must have come in a set because I don't see myself at 21 years old purchasing 3 of the same thing. I had a red one and sort of a shimmery pink, sort of like a NARS Orgasm shade, and then a clear one, and I used up at least the shimmery pink and the clear one. I think I might have ended up decluttering the red one just because I think it was a little bit on the messy side, but I thought they were decent. I don't know if I would still think they were decent today though. I feel like they still sell a very similar set quite often around the holidays. They're just 3, I would guess they're a little bit smaller than your average Squeezy Tube lip gloss, but I could actually be misremembering that too. They might be full size. I remember that they took me quite a while to get through and I didn't have a lot of lip products back then, so maybe they were actually pretty big. I also used up 2 of the Soap & Glory Sexy Mother Pucker glosses. I want to say that these had a little bit of a tingle to them and they smelled and tasted like really artificial chocolate. I actually have no idea why I panned the second one. I don't recall really liking the first one, but maybe the second one came in a Target beauty box or something. Remember when they used to have those and they were like actually good? I was a real fan of those back in the day, but I ended up using both of them up and I guess I didn't really enjoy them because I didn't feel any need to repurchase a lip gloss for like 2 years after I finished that. I don't mean that I didn't repurchase a Soap & Glory lip gloss. I mean, I just went without lip gloss for like 2 years after I finished that second tube. Another lip product that definitely came in a set, and that is why I finished so many, were the Burt's Bees, the Shimmer Lips formula. These are like a really slim lipstick and they have quite a bit of glitter in them. And I don't think that I was ever all that into them. I really liked some of the individual shades that I had. They were quite a creamy formula and I mean, they were shimmery. But I thought that it was really pretty in the more nude shades. I also had a really, really bright red at one point, which was a mess. It got everywhere, but I still think I panned it somehow. This was not at a period when shimmery lips were in, but I made it work. I think I probably layered lip gloss over these a lot of the time because, I mean, they could look really frosty. Like a lot of shimmery lipsticks, they didn't look too frosty the first time you applied, but, you know, some of the glitter would stick around if you were eating or just as it wore down throughout the day. So by the time you were reapplying for the second time, you were looking pretty frosty. But I remember, but you know what? I think that I bought another one of these after I finished my original trio. Actually, I'm almost certain that I bought like a pink after I was done with the original 3. So these next 2 formulas, I think you can still get some places, but I definitely don't see them as much as I used to. The first is the Rimmel Kate Moss lipsticks. These come in a black tube. I think they also had ones in red tubes that were maybe matte or something, but I never owned any of those. I finished so many of those Kate Moss lipsticks, and I think that it was probably because I could get them quite inexpensively. Rimmel is a pretty cheap brand to start with. I think they're like half a step more expensive than e.l.f. and Wet n Wild, and they had coupons all the time. But I panned at least 4 tubes of these lipsticks. I know that I had the shade 08, which was like a really gray mauve shade. I wore that so often when I was like a senior in college, and it was a little bit of a dead lips color, but in a way where I felt really cool with it. It was enough off that it started kind of looking just interesting rather than a bad lipstick choice. and I thought it was really pretty. I don't know if I would like it as much now, but I really enjoyed it then, to the point where I panned 2 tubes over 2 years. So that was good. I also had a pink shade that was probably a lot better for me, and I also panned 2 of that. I couldn't tell you which shade it was though. The Revlon HD lipsticks are another one that I absolutely adored. I also panned 4 tubes of these. I had 2 of Vineyard. Honestly, I might have had 3 of Vineyard, which is like a plummy pink shade. Such a pretty color. Loved it. It is one of the few, I've only had the experience maybe 2 or 3 times where I tried on a lipstick shade for the first time. It was like, this is it. This has ruined the other lipsticks that I owned for me for a while, and one of them was when I tried on Vineyard for the first time. I went through my first tube of Vineyard so quickly. I think I probably wore other things like twice a week until that thing was gone. And then immediately after that, I actually might have purchased them at the same time. I had one of Coral, which was, you know, a coral shade, and I used that one up pretty quickly as well. Gave the Revlon HDs a little bit of a break, and then I bought 2 more. And I still love these. I don't know why they seem to at least not be pushing them as I really like Revlon lip products just as a whole. So even though I wish they would bring back those HD gels in more stores, I think they still are available in some stores. I want more of them. They're just so pretty, they're so comfortable, and I loved the shades that I got. I loved that tiny bit of sheerness that all of these had. They were still impactful, they still all looked very different on the lips. They looked like you were wearing lipstick, but they had this tiny bit of sheerness to them that made them super easy to wear for every day, and you never looked super made up when wearing them. I thought they were amazing. While we're on the subject of Revlon lipsticks, I feel like we have to talk about the Revlon Super Lustrous. I actually just bought this one today. This is the shade Pink in the Afternoon, and I didn't quite pan this one when I had it the first time, but I did make a really good dent in it, and then I destroyed it in an ill-advised attempt to force a laundry machine to work. Anyway, we don't need to get into that. These are really lovely. I think I have like 4 or 5 of them right now. I've panned 2 of them in the past. I know that I've panned one of Blushing Mauve, and you know what? I'm counting the Pink in the Afternoon that I destroyed as another panned lipstick because it was at the point where it was like that much left when I killed it. And they're just such a lovely formula. I can't believe that these are only $5 because they just feel so nice. They have a gorgeous range of shades. I think that the creamy formula, at least, I actually don't know that I've ever tried any of the matte ones, but I've had a couple of pearl ones, and this is a creme one, as I believe are all the other ones that I currently own. They're just a really lovely formula, and I feel like almost anyone could find a color that would really work for them in the range. The brights I find work as well as the more nude shades, and I'm just so impressed with these. I'm almost certain that I will pan many more of these in the years to come. One great thing about Revlon is that because they are not super trendy, or at least they don't succeed when they try to be super trendy, they tend to have quite a few products that have just been around for ages, and this is one of them. They've had these super lustrous lipsticks around since the 50s. There are certain shades that they've had since the 50s, and I think and really hope that they will be around for many years to come. They're a great lipstick. Another lipstick that I have panned a couple of are the Maybelline Creamy Mattes. I always want to call these the Maybelline Comfort Mattes because they are quite comfortable, but that's It's not the name. The one that I currently have is the shade Almond Rose. This is my least favorite of the shades that I've owned. I have panned the two classics from this range. They are Lust for Blush, which is a blush pink. I actually found that was very cool tone and really an interesting shade on me. I didn't think that it was going to be as fun as it ended up being based on what I'd seen on other people. And I also panned A Touch of Spice. I feel like if you go back to like 2016, 2017 YouTube, everyone talked about those two shades and had them, and for great reason. I mean, they're a really nice formula. They are very matte, but they're not drying. However, they do feel kind of thick on the lips. I could see some people really not liking that, but they apply really well over a lip balm if you want something that's a little bit more sheer. I want to say more comfortable, but it's not that these are uncomfortable to start with. These aren't drying at all, but applying them over a lip balm, it makes them feel a little bit thinner. I think that's a better way of phrasing that. And I actually want to pan this lipstick this year, and once it's gone, I definitely will not repurchase this shade, but I would consider purchasing Touch of Spice again. Because Maybelline hasn't really been releasing new colors in this range as far as I'm aware, and I've kind of exhausted the shades that I'm interested in from the line, so I suspect that I won't end up buying another one of these, but I do still really like the product. And now finally we get to move into face products. This is the smallest category. I have never been someone who consistently wears foundation or concealer, which really knocks out a good portion of the products that a lot of people seem to really go through. So the only sort of complexion product that I've ever panned multiple of was the NYC pressed powder. It's a white powder, and I believe that most of what drew me to it was just that it was cheap. This is something that I wore quite a bit of during college, and when my skin was quite a bit oilier, I would use this pretty much all over my face right around lunchtime, because that was usually around the time that my my oil started really showing up. And I would often set my face in the mornings too, after I put on sunscreen. I still do that sometimes, but I flew through these. I think I used up 2 or 3 within a year and a half, and then NYC went out of business. So I guess I'll never know if I would like it now or not. My CoverGirl blushes, these were the only blushes I owned through the great majority of college. I had one of the trios, the Instant Cheekbones, I think they were called, in a rosy shade, and I used up, I want to say, the 2 lightest shades. I couldn't quite get away with using the deepest shade on its own once the other 2 were gone. I usually mixed them together, and then at some point I realized that I could wear them individually. I don't know why that didn't occur to me at first. Probably because I was 18 and just starting to wear makeup, and that's how my mom applied it the first time when she was just showing me how to use it. But anyway, it didn't even occur to me that I was supposed to use one as a highlighter and then place the other 2 blushes at slightly different places on my face. Just swirled the tiny little brush that came with it through all 3 shades and stripe. I'm sure it was very beautiful. Anyway, I used up 2 of those shades completely, and I want to say that I did at least hit pan in the 3rd one. I really don't remember, but it was my first blush. It was in the first little set of like grown-up makeup that my mom got me when I was 18 and went to college. And I liked them enough that when I decided maybe a year or so, year and a half later, that I wanted a peachy blush as well, I just immediately went to CoverGirl. I got one of the Cheekers blushes in just whatever their peach shade was. I'm sure it was the lightest peachy shade they offered. And I panned that as well. And those were the only two blushes I used over the course of like 3.5 or 4 years. I actually think that the peach blush might have come with me to grad school and gotten finished my first year of grad school. It takes forever to pan a blush, and I was not exactly light-handed with them ever, but I really liked them. I thought they were very pretty, and this is one product that I would be interested in trying another one of at some point. If my blush collection ever gets to a point where it's like manageable, I would be interested to try another CoverGirl one. I thought they were really nice. If I am proud of panning a product, it feels silly to say that I'm proud of like finishing makeup, because you would think that would just be assumed. But if there's a product that I'm really proud of panning, it is the Tarte blush. I have finished 2 of these deluxe sample sizes. I've finished one in Party and one in Harmony. Party is a little bit more nude and it's a little bit deeper. Harmony is a little bit lighter. The one that I have right now, oh, and it's a little bit more pinky, Harmony is. The one that I have now is Quirky. This is a coral, and I attempted to depot it. Don't try to depot these, at least if you're not using heat. It is a bad choice. I've managed to squish it back into the pan without too much difficulty and without any casualties, knock on wood. But yeah, don't try that. These take forever to use. I pretty much used Party every day for close to 2 years before I finished it. And I feel like Harmony lasted not quite as long because I'm a klutz and dropped it several times, but it also lasted me well over a year of everyday use. I'm sure that this one will be with me for a long time to come as well. And I think that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this was interesting. I would love to hear about which products you have panned multiple of over the years, or if there are any products that you've panned multiple of over the years. Have you always been someone who finishes one thing and then moves on to the next, or just doesn't finish makeup to start with? I'm very curious. Thank you so much for watching. It was really fun to redo this older video, except, you know, not filmed on my laptop webcam or at midnight in my parents' yellow living room with the absolute worst lighting. I don't think that we managed to ever take a good photo in that room in like 15 years of living in that house. So even if you guys didn't enjoy this, I at least enjoyed redoing it. Thanks again, and I hope you consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed. I'm already looking forward to next time. Bye.